You want your story or the story you're working on to be successful in the entertainment business. Once you have the treatment, which is like synopsis of your story, you've got the concept honed and it's clear, the first step isn't necessarily to try to write the screenplay. The first step is knowing what your story is and then looking for where your story could be sold. Now, this might seem unique to you or different because you thought right away that you would try to meet an agent and they would take your story around, or you could get to a producer and they would say, yes, with open arms, I want to work with you, when that's normally not what happens right away. You will have to build relationships with people, and they're going to have to be interested in the story you've got. So once you've identified what your project is, whether it's your life story or someone else's life story or a story that you read about or a short story you found or a podcast or a book or something that's intriguing to you that you believe could be a movie, right away you want to identify, how does the marketing work? How does the sales work? What is the business? One way of learning how to do this is pretend that you had $10 million and you could make it if you wanted to. You could hire a crew and a cast and get it made. I'm saying don't do that. Don't. First, you want to find out who would purchase it, even if you made it perfectly, and how would you recoup your money? Now, this kind of thinking may seem like a long way from where you are when you're just sitting there with a story synopsis or the first draft of a script. But this is the practical, real way to think to make things happen. I was talking to a young writer today and they said, I have 4 different things that I'd like to move forward. One was in animation, one is in live action, and they were saying, what makes sense to do first? And I was saying, the animated show, you would have to join forces with a company that animates if you're not an illustrator. So think about, does that make the most sense for you to begin right now? With a live action show, I was saying to them, what genre is this? And they started discussing that it was a coming of age and it was a very sweet story. And I said, okay, who do you think is going to finance that? That may be a project you want to do later, particularly if it's an ensemble piece, but it's hard to cast. Pick something with a lead that you could try and actually attract to your project. So pick something with just 1 or 2 leads.